Right, let's start. Good evening, sir.
Very good evening to you.
Advancing Notice is very privileged to have you, Sir Ngullie from Hornbill TV. He is a very renowned person in Nagaland. So he is an award-winning Indian journalist, columnist, and humorist based on Northeast India. He has also won National Media Award in 2021 and the National Foundation of India Fellowship in 2019 for the work on labor rights, migrant labor, and welfare policy. And he is also a senior Indian journalist and is one of the several fellows selected for a commentary fellowship by Pano South Asia in 2008. And he is also the recipient of award-winning commentary in 1997 on 50 years of independence in India's independence achievements. So we are very privileged to have you, sir, today.
A pleasure to be here,
Sir,
actually.
Sir, before we start with the program, I'd like to say a little words about what Advancing Northeast is about. So, Advancing Northeast is a digital initiative ideated by the Northeastern Council, NEC, Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region, Government of India, to create a state of resource center which will act as one-stop solution portal. So primarily, we are focusing on career and also livelihood of the youth and the students in Northeast region. So our main target is the students, job seekers, and also entrepreneurs to guide them in choosing the right profession or giving them the availability of choices they have. Sir, can you give a little introduction about yourself?
Oh, no, I hope none of the persons watching our conference will fall asleep. Basically, very simple and ordinary person. I don't have much to talk about myself, but I think I can talk about my puppy,
Yes.
Brett Cloud. Yeah, he's 3 years old. He'll be 4 next year, and he's spoiled. Especially his grandma spoils him a lot. So he's a pug, a very cute pug. As for me, I think it's about 19 to 20 years now that I've been in the media. I've worked across national and international organizations over the past 19 to 20 years. And my passion has always been in public interest and human interest stories. I've also pursued investigative journalism in the areas of crime, extortion, and of course, development policies. But I also love writing humor and music journalism too. Those are the areas that I've started working in. And currently, I'm with Hornbill TV as a talk show host and a senior news editor. So over the years, I think I'm very privileged to have been blessed by God to have all these opportunities, through different platforms. And I'm thankful to you guys for having me here. It's an honor for me, actually, guys. It's an honor for me. Thank you for that.
It is a privilege for us to have you here, sir. Sir, can you give us a little insight about what is journalism? What does it really mean?
Nowadays, that's a very good question. I wasn't really expecting that. I thought you would ask me about, what is the salary of journalists working in the newspapers, or what is the pension plan for broadcast journalists, something in that nature. I didn't expect that. Journalism these days has become a term that encompasses everything that involves the creation of content, either in print or visual mediums. So it is not like the traditional term that we used in the nature of gathering information and putting it through an editorial process and to feed the public with useful content. That kind of a definition is not there anymore. Nowadays, if you've got a camera and a phone, I think you're a journalist, You open Facebook accounts, YouTube accounts, and you become a journalist in that sort. So it has become a very muddled, prostituted, and misused term. But as for someone who has been in the industry for quite a time, journalism is basically not just gathering information.
Yes,
It is
sir.
also about gathering information that is instructive, that is
Yes,
relevant,
sir.
and most important of all, newsworthy. So just because you are good in dancing and you put it out on a blog or YouTube, it doesn't mean
Yes,
that that is journalism. Just because you write about fashion, about some ministers, some political events going on, it doesn't make you a journalist. It is a very, very skill specific, technical, and most important, ethics conscious profession. So
yes, sir.
nowadays, I don't know, but I'm giving you a definition from like 20, 30 years ago.
Yes, yes, sir. Sir, so can you give us an insight on like what are the job prospects that after taking up the course of journalism or having a degree can they proceed for the job
There's
prospects, sir?
another difficult question here. When I started working, I think my first article was way back in 1996 or 97 when I wrote for that international news magazine, Reader's Digest. And those days, journalism was not like the kind of journalism we have today. Those
Yes,
days
sir.
you have had to have very good writing skills, but most importantly, information gathering skills.
Yes, sir. Yes, definitely. Yes.
So it was very competitive for us to get into uh, magazines like Tehelka, Reader's Digest, or even applying for jobs in newspapers such as the Times of India, Deccan Herald, the
Yes,
Hindu. It was very competitive because the people applying for them were highly skilled, they were
yes, sir.
experienced, and of course, they knew the tone and color of the conversations going on in the society. So it was very
Yes,
competitive. But nowadays, with everyone, especially with the advent of social media technologies, everyone can become journalists, if you can call that. But
yes,
if we are talking about real professional journalism, the prospects of making a life out of journalism is high. But I'll put a caveat in here. It is only if you're working in places like Europe, the United States,
yes, sir.
outside, or even in Southeast Asia, Asian countries like Singapore or South Korea. In India, well, if you're working in places like Mumbai, Delhi, or Bangalore, then I think
Yes, sir.
the prospect of making a livelihood out of your interest in journalism is will be much better than those of us in North India or Northeast India. I'll be very honest here. If you're from Nagaland,
Yes,
normally I have advised my mentees and students who come to me for advice to go outside. Actually, I tell them to take their dreams outside because I have seen how it works in Nagaland. If you want to make a living out of journalism in Nagaland, I think that's going to be a very, very difficult prospect for you. I know it. I've been here. But if you are
sir.
going to take your interest in writing and information and you want to build something out of it that is a little more stable, I tell them to
That's
go
right.
outside. In Nagaland, no, I don't advise you. But if you want to progress, chess awards, chess stories, chess fellowships, chess
Yes,
faculty slots, and once you have done that, network with people who are working in the industry outside the country, make friends
yes, sir.
with
Yes,
foreign people, and then I think just work abroad,
yes,
make a
sir.
living, come back and start something here. Don't start from here.
All right. Sir, you mentioned about journalism in the scope of Northeast. So you have said that there is no much scope for being a journalist in Northeast and also in the state. Yeah. So you discussed about how one should go out. So based on that, I like to state a question. we actually have this misconcept, or should I say, that people believe that after taking up the course of journalism, one must become a journalist, and taking
Mm-mm.
journalism only for to become a journalist. So what is your say on that, sir?
It depends what your needs are. And that is a very common question that I get from students and students that I mentor and I've mentored.
Yes,
It depends on what you need. It is true that we pursue, let's say, bachelor's or master's in mass communication to get into journalism. But I'm telling you,
yes, sir.
at
Yes,
Hornbill TV here, we have had video editors who had masters in music. We have had
yes, sir.
computer
Yes, sir.
engineers, computer engineers reporting. We have had people in the area of fashion designing who started writing here. So
Yes,
first thing first, if you're starting out, identify your need. If you want to be a television journalist, then what is the point in you pursuing a writing diploma? If you want to
yes,
be a
sir.
video editor, why would you go and train yourself in, let's say, studio management?
Yes,
You
sir. Yes,
know.
sir.
So first, identify your need. If you want to report, then enroll in a writing class, get a diploma. If you want to be a TV anchor, then engage in public speaking courses. So first, identify what you want to be, and based on Masters of Music person here at Hornbill TV, and he actually started editing videos, And there was a computer engineer here who came here, and I think he was given the role of a news reader. So while there are opportunities you can make money from or just get started in the industry, it is
Yes,
not
sir.
the rule. It's an exception. So first, identify what you want and then get a
Yes, sir.
degrees. But then again, one more thing, you
Yes,
actually
sir.
don't need a degree if it's not a technical profile. For example, if you are writing content, you need good writing skills. You don't really
Yes,
need
sir.
to have courses.
Okay, so since we are talking about journalism, after taking a course on journalism, after having a degree or a master, what are the jobs that a student can fit into, or what are the job scope that we have after taking that course?
Yeah, I think the media industry is now a very complex system, especially for people who are seeking a career in this industry. Mass communication is generally, I was thinking the other day also, these days it is like, especially in Europe, if you go to
Yeah,
Europe, they are
yes, sir.
going to give you very specialized courses. In India, you go for mass communications in bachelor's, and then masters in mass communication. But everything is just a small have a specialized, a very dedicated skill. So that's one of the main problems. Otherwise, if you have a degree in mass communication, I think you can get in any newspaper and magazine by virtue of the degree you have. You can start uh, any company, you can join any company, and within that company, whatever work profile is there that fits your degree, camera
Yes,
people, reporters, content editors, you can find a job. But if you are someone who is ambitious and you have big dreams, especially
yes,
in the context of going outside and making a living out of it, especially in Europe,
yes,
then your mass communication degree wouldn't help. You have to have specialized skills. You have to have specialized degree in filmmaking, cinematography, for example. You should know how to handle studio equipments, or
yes, sir.
even
Yes,
if you are an editor, you should have high language skills. Specialization is very important. If you don't have, maybe in India, you can just get by somehow, but outside, you won't be able to get far.
Sir, in your previously you talked about how students can go abroad or out of India to pursue journalism for greater experience. So based on that, I'd like to ask a question. So is media liberal in India? And since we are called as the voice of the voiceless, what are the restrictions that there is in India? And are journalists or media able to keep the role of gatekeeping? Can you comment on that,
Uh,
sir?
it's difficult. Just a little while ago, I was reading about how the Ambani Group has taken over one of the most revered independent news organizations in India, NDTV. And we
Yes,
all know
yes,
that NDTV has been at the forefront of democracy advocacy also. They have been very
yes.
vocal in many issues in regard to administration and governance and crime and politics in India. And I don't know, we'll have to wait and see, but I was feeling sad because this news establishment had been taken over by a corporate that was not I mean, they
Yes,
didn't really have a very good reputation when it comes to democratic advocacies. So anyhow, uh, what I can say is media houses in foreign countries, especially Europe, the United States and UK, they are very independent compared to what we are seeing in India. One of the reasons is that news organizations abroad are basically, of course, they are controlled by corporate entities with their own interests, but they are also people who are managed. The organizations are run by leaderships who have been in the journalism industry for a long time. They know the tone and conversations of the society and the government. They know ethics. And I'm not saying this is the rule everywhere. There are some bad apples there, but comparing to
yeah,
what
yeah,
we're seeing in India, they are freer, they are more independent than we are. And India, I think till up to the 80s and early 90s, the image of the Indian media as being the vanguard of democracy was intact. But during the past about 15 to 20 years, I think the Indian media has come to a place where monetary and revenue concerns are more important than social discourses and standing up for the cause of the common people. So that's the difference that we are seeing now.
Sir, based on it, I'd like to add another question. So you
Sure.
mentioned about the role of media in the national level. So based on it, what can you give a comment on the state of journalism in Nagaland and Northeast?
Nagaland is a very difficult customer niche. I don't know how to put this. The BBC called media houses that depend on press releases and public statements as journalism, not
Yes,
journeying out information, not journalism. So right now, the media industry in Nagaland is journalism, because if you go through any newspapers or social media content or broadcast content, all the information that is contained for the public are all vanity press, which means they are not independent.
yes,
They are from public organizations, students, tribal ho organizations. So whatever information that they give us, we just put it out to the public media, to the public domain. So we are not
yes.
independent. So we don't have the culture of investigative journalism also. We are very poor in what we call editorial judgment. That is the
Oh,
reason why newspapers are dying out in Nagaland, and more television and digital-based information platforms are coming up. So in
yes.
regard to your question about what is the condition of the media in Nagaland, I would say it's in a very sorry state of affairs, because I think we have forgotten what journalism stands for in the first place. We are chasing revenue and gains. We are not talking about injustice that has been perpetrated on the common man by governments, by non-state actors. We are not taking this injustice stories to a public platform where we can have conversations and resolve them, because we have
Yes,
become vanity press. We only take statements and make them into news what others have given us. We are not chasing stories ourselves. We are not investigating cause and effect. We are just speakers that others use us to speak for themselves, not for the common people.
yes. There, you mentioned about how journalists today in the text of Nagaland is struggling, and how it has become vague. So based on it,
Mm-hmm.
so what has been the role of journalists
Normally, it's like this. Outside, especially in progressive countries, if there is an injustice that is done to a common man, it is very normal for citizens to come out and call the
yes,
responsible for it. And this can even lead to changes within the organization that caused the outrage, for example. So, for example, I read many years ago where people were mistreating a turtle. I think it was in the United States. This was reported in the media, and there was a conversation about how we should treat animals with compassion. And I think an entire town came out and they protested, and they wrote to the newspapers saying that they want those responsible for this jailed. So those information media is like that. It's very powerful. But in Nagaland, we could have taken a lot of we could have taken in a lot of conversation and opened our pages and our TV screens and our social media accounts to conversation that would actually help resolve issues. It could be on the Naga political issues, it could be law and order, it could be extortion, it could be even poverty and economics related issues. We could have opened our platforms to the public to have meaningful conversations, but we failed to do that because our concerns were only about advertisements, revenue. Our concerns were not about the democratic advocacies that we were supposed to carry forward. So we could have played a lot of role, but no, we failed in that.
sir, uh, nowadays, ideally, students can, after the completion of plus two, tahan BA choose karan they where they happen like tend to take journalism just because alak subject panai or tahan a trace of
Mm-hmm.
subject panai. So
Mm-hmm.
we have experienced that. I asked some people, why did you choose
Mm-hmm.
journalism course? And then koi since the subject which I wanted to offer, that is sit panai,
Mm-hmm.
to journalism lishe. So sir, what आपने की
Mm-hmm.
कोई दिया?
Don't do that. It'll spoil your career, because not everyone is meant to be a journalist, as much as not everyone is qualified enough to have the mind of someone who would become a doctor or an engineer or a musician. Don't do that. If you don't have courses that you can pay people, if when I was in Patkai, there were a lot of people who wanted to have English, but like they did not have sufficient mark aggregates to actually go for English or political science. So you know what they pick? Philosophy. What are you going to do with philosophy if you want to,
Yes, yes,
after graduation, go and write for the UPSC and PSC or join the police? What is the point in taking up subjects that you are not interested in? Just stick with your
yes,
general course,
sir.
and once you have graduated, pick up a course that interests you. Thousands of courses out there, specialized courses. So if you don't have, no, don't do that. If you don't have the
Yes,
course that you want, don't pick up journalism or psychology just because it's there. No, complete your general course, pick up a technical training course and diploma later after you have graduated, and you will have a clear vision of where to go later.
okay, cutting it short. Uh, so there are like Kumba students like who wants to really become a journalist or who wants to pursue in the field of journalism, they pursue curriculum what institution or what are the things that you would recommend?
Oh, yes. These are for so if you are pursuing bachelor's or master's in mass communications or a technical or highly specialized study course, let's say in filmmaking or writing or broadcast, then complete it first. Complete it. And once you have completed it, don't start looking for a job. That will be, maybe we'll discuss about this later. But if you get a job, good placement in a good company, then that is good. But instead of straight away looking for a job, once you've completed your mass communications degree, go for internship. Go for internship, and while you're interning, I would encourage you to start networking on, say, industry networking sites such as LinkedIn. Make friends,
Yes,
because it is more likely that a friend who knows you will help you rather than a stranger on social media if you're looking out for a job. And
yes, definitely, yes.
I've come
Good.
across a lot of job opportunities from the United States, Singapore, um, especially during my formative years, because I made friends with people who were in big companies and reputed companies. I networked a lot. So instead of
Yes,
finding
sir.
1 year of collective interning in different companies or even in one company, that is going to be a very, very plus point for your resume once you start looking for a job, because a company will hire someone with work experience who of about 6
Yes,
months rather than someone who joined a year. And there's a big difference. One is paid, one is unpaid. And if you're someone who did work even without being paid, it means that you're going to do a lot more, or you have much more to give if you are going to be paid later on. So instead of finding a job,
yes.
intern first and start looking for a job.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for being with us and so much for sharing so
Thank you.
many insights about on this career. Sir, we are very privileged to have you. Thank you so much, sir.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, guys. And I hope we work together in the future to let me know if you need anything that I can help you with.
Yes, sir, definitely. Yes, sir. You can also like get our videos and know more about our talk shows on our website www.advancednotice.in and also on YouTube channels and Facebooks. Yeah, you can always check it there for more care talks like this. Right. Thank you,
Sure,
sir,
sure,
once
sure.
again.
I'll check it out. Thank you so much for having me, Nishni.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. All the
Thank
best to you
you.
guys. See you soon.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.